acid reflux is a bit. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. My name is Spectre Bull, and ow, my head. Today is a wait, what the frick? Today is a joyous day. Sort of. It's always joyous when you hear about Twisted Metal in the news. Well, at least it is for me. But there's some more rumblings going on about the franchise's future, because today, Video Games Chronicle reports on a change in development. So for those of you who aren't aware, last year we had rumblings about Lucid Games, the developer of Destruction AllStars, working on a reboot for Twisted Metal, and it's most likely to coincide with the upcoming TV show, which we haven't really heard much about over the last few months. I wonder how that's going. It looks like Lucid Games is no longer a part of that, according to VGC's sources here. The project has been pushed into Sony's first-party studios, particularly studios in Europe, one of their studios in Europe. In other words, Twisted Metal has gone internal, which I think is the best move that Sony could make. Destruction AllStars, I don't know if any of you out there have played the game, but it kinda sucks, but it's okay for the most part. We got this, and I was originally going to do a whole video on just this one article, but then some more news came on out. Push Square, Twisted Metal PS5 reboot studio swapped to mid-development. According to our sources, this change was sudden and unexpected. Development of a new Twisted Metal has been an open secret for some time now, and while Sony has yet to publicly acknowledge the existence of the game, it's still very much on the agenda internally. Firesprite has been hiring for a multiplayer game and is currently Sony's largest team in the UK. That is absolutely true. I did a ton of research today on Sony's European studios, and my goodness. Whew. Numbers, man. My brain is fried. So, big takeaway from all of this, right, is cool. Sony is still interested in Twisted Metal. They are not canceling the project. They are just trying to move it into other studios. But that raises a few questions, right? And we're not just talking about who could be making the game and what could it end up being. The first question I want to try and address is, why was Lucid Games removed? As much as I don't like Destruction AllStars, I feel like Lucid Games was very much a developer that could have done this. Like, the studio is talented. Like, Destruction AllStars, if you haven't played it lately, you know, the game's still not great, but the fixes that they've done are actually very good. Like, I was playing for more than an hour, which is saying something, because when I see a game that isn't super great, I pretty much ditch that thing immediately. Destruction AllStars, though, I've been trying to keep an eye on, just because I want to see the game try to flourish. But Twisted Metal, I honestly thought could be the studio's revival, and I don't know. It kind of leads us to speculate. Either Lucid is being punished because of how bad Destruction AllStars turned out, or maybe they were like, we want to focus on Destruction AllStars some more and maybe bring it to other consoles, and Sony didn't like that. So they said, bye. See ya, you're not working on our thing anymore then. Either that, or Sony themselves saw how badly Destruction AllStars did and was like, yo, we're not super thrilled on how that went. We're gonna do some changes here. A number of things could have happened, and we're probably not going to get those answers for some time now. What I really want to dive into here is the vagueness of this whole thing, right? So VGC reports that Sony has moved the project to one of their European studios, which I did some research, and Sony's got 7 studios that are located in Europe, and I want to go through them in order, but let's start off with the ones that we know are not going to be the studio making this. So when you look up PlayStation Studios on Wikipedia, you come across all these names, right? And one of the mysterious names that I thought was odd was a studio called XDev. Now, this is something you can instantly knock off, because this isn't a studio as in we make games. It's a studio as it acts more as like a middleman, right, for Sony. So what XDev does is they just manage and they fund stuff for Sony's European partners. So like, I think Lucid Games might be European, but let's just assume them, right? So if they're based in Europe, then they're probably talking to XDev most of the time instead of Jim Ryan and or Sean Layden or whoever was overseeing the project, you know? But that's pretty much what they do, so you can already cross off XDev from the list. Nix's is a studio that Sony recently acquired in the past year. However, the thing with Nix's is that they're a studio that mostly specializes in PC ports. So, if anything, they could be working on a PC port for this, but that's probably not going to be until roughly, I want to say, a year or two after this game comes out. So they're not going to be in the picture until, let's see, let's assume the game comes out 2024, so they'll probably not launch the PC port until 2025, 2026. It all depends, really. I'm juggling a bunch of numbers, though. We'll get so then that leaves 5 studios, and there's some pretty big ones, all right? We'll start off with Guerrilla. Guerrilla Games these are the folks behind Killzone and, of course, Horizon Zero Dawn and the upcoming Horizon Forbidden West. As much as I would love to see Guerrilla work on something that is not Horizon, because my god, Horizon is being beaten to death right now. As cool as it would be to see Guerrilla work on Twisted Metal, I don't think it's going to happen. Because the thing with Guerrilla is they don't really do vehicle-based arcadey kind of gameplay. Like they did FPS games for a while, right? And now they're doing these open world games with Horizon and Aloy, and now they're going into VR with all that, right? They're very much ingrained into Horizon, and as far as shifting the project to them, they probably they wouldn't even be able to start right now. They probably have all hands on deck getting Horizon Forbidden West and its day one patch out the door. Next one I want to talk about, though, is Housemarque. So Housemarque, they just put out a game last year called Returnal. It was a PS5 exclusive and something to do with space and bullet hell and aliens, and she keeps waking up. I don't know. I haven't played it. I have no interest in playing it, but I'm very familiar with Housemarque. They are very much a studio that is very small. They kind of stay within their realm of what they like, which is a lot of shoot-'em-ups and a lot of arcadey experiences, which you could easily make a Twisted Metal that is in that style, but I don't know if you would get something that Sony might be looking for. The thing with Housemarque is that this is a very small studio that doesn't work with a lot of big budgets. I would probably say Housemarque's biggest project ever has to have been Returnal, because that game had budget to it. Like, when you look at that, that is a game with some budget. Not huge budget like Horizon or Ratchet levels of budget, but that is a lot of budget still. And the thing about Housemarque 2 is that they only house 80 employees. And I'm not saying that as in, 80 employees, they can't make a Twisted Metal game. This is where Sony's vision for Twisted Metal comes in, right? They're doing this TV series. They are clearly carrying this project enough to pull it away from a partner and say, we want to do it ourselves with one of our own teams. To me, that says you are looking for a Twisted Metal experience that is very close to AAA budget. It may not be right there, but they are very clearly looking for something that is not going to be fulfilled by a studio like Housemarque, at least not at their size. Otherwise, you're probably going to be looking at an incredibly long development cycle. The next one I want to touch upon is Firesprite. Push Square cites that Firesprite is rumored to be the developer behind this, and if they are, that is amazing. My only concern is, like, but can they make a game that's not in VR? That's my only concern. I don't know if there's much difference between VR development or regular game development. If you are a dev and you know about that sort of thing, please let me know in the comment below. But that's the only thing I'm concerned about. But I can see them making a really awesome Twisted Metal experience. So Firesprite, they're arguably one of the biggest studios that Sony owns. It's like, what did I have on here? 265 employees. I could very much see them doing this in a style similar to Star Wars Squadrons, where the main attraction for this Twisted Metal VR experience, right, is you are driving Sweet Tooth yourself. You are riding Reaper yourself. You are driving amidst all this madness. And it's freaking awesome. Just to make sure that many people as possible are playing this game, they add in a feature that lets you play it without the VR. Star Wars Squadrons had that, where you could compete against each other, whether it was in a game controller, but if you wanted to do VR, for whatever reason, you could absolutely do so. I think that would make a fantastic Twisted Metal experience. I don't even care if they were to abandon the single-player content and made it purely multiplayer, like Star Wars Squadrons, but knowing Sony, they're probably going to put something in there, which, fair enough. Fair enough. Just make sure it's good. So that leaves us with two studios. London Studio, I want to touch on first. So London Studio, they used to work on primarily iToy back in the PS2 days, which, if you don't remember, it was this camera you attached to the PlayStation 2 and you basically interacted. It was like Kinect a little bit. And then for a long time, they worked on the SingStar games, which was basically karaoke as a video game. And then they put out a PSVR title in 2019 that I feel if you were to want to get a PlayStation VR right now, it's to play Blood and Truth. Blood and Truth was a fantastic VR game. Fantastic all the way through. It is basically you live your own action movie. That's it. That's all you need to know, and it's awesome. You have the shootouts, you got the explosions, it's fantastic through and through. I highly recommend it. But that was 3 years ago. They're working on something. London Studio. And I know, anybody could say that. Oh, they're working on something. But with Twisted Metal making the rounds over the past year, I have to wonder, are they making a sequel to Blood and Truth, which they most likely are, given that PSVR 2 is sort of imminent, or have they been toiling away a little bit with Twisted Metal? Given how awesome Blood and Truth was, I feel like they could bring that kind of action to Twisted Metal. Now, the last European studio that I want to touch on, and it's a bit of a facepalm, honestly, which is sad to say because I love these guys. It's Media Molecule. These are the people who are best known for Little Big Planet and more recently Dreams. Which Dreams is another sort of online flop for Sony. Media Molecule I feel a little bit more confident in, just in terms of what they could do with Twisted Metal. Because they have some experience with vehicle-based gameplay. They had Little Big Planet 2, which allowed you to make different game types, and I think racing was one of them. And then you had the spin-off that they did with United Front Games, Little Big Planet Karting, which that one was... It was kind of a half-baked version of Mod Nation Racers, unfortunately. But that leads me to my next point. So the thing with Media Molecule, what makes them so special, is that they make some really awesome tools. Like, when it comes to user-generated content, these are the guys that you definitely want. They're great at it. If they were to do a Twisted Metal, then just imagine, you could build your own arenas, you could make your own cars to go up against Sweet Tooth and everything. That'd be awesome. That'd be so awesome. I want to make my own little Twisted Metal death machine. Problem is that we already have that. It's called Crossout. And it's free to play. I'm not about stuff that looks like COD, really. Anyways, this is where I get super concerned about Media Molecule and them taking on the Twisted Metal license. It's how small their studio is. Housemarque has 80 employees, okay? That's an okay size. It's alright. Media Molecule has 50. They have 50 employees. And I'm really trying hard not to make the size much of a thing, but it goes back to what I was saying with Sony and how they seem to be viewing Twisted Metal as an IP, as this potential transmedia universal cinematic universe thing. With what Sony is probably looking for, you absolutely need the size of, say, Firesprite with 265 employees, or maybe even Guerrilla. Guerrilla's got a bigger size than any of the studios I've talked about here. They got 360 employees. It kind of goes, like I said, it goes back to 50 employees. I don't know if that's going to cut it with what Sony's looking for. Otherwise, we're not going to see Media Molecule for another 10 years. That's where I'm sort of struggling with on this, as to who could it be. Firesprite, I'm very inclined to believe, but something tells me it's not Firesprite. And if it is, then they have to be super early in development, which tells me Lucid Games probably didn't hit milestones to really show what they want to do with this franchise. And they've had nearly a year since Destruction AllStars launched, and unfortunately, they've been swamped in trying to get that game off the ground. I feel like Sony is really wanting to make Twisted Metal a thing, given how they've deliberately pulled this project from Lucid, and they're bringing it to one of their internal studios. And Firesprite, I feel, is capable. Housemarque, I think, might be capable, but is going to take a long time. London Studio could absolutely do it. Media Molecule, I don't think would cut it, honestly. It's very much in the air, but if I was to keep an eye on either studio, I would say keep an eye on Firesprite and keep an eye on Sony London Studio. Let me know in the comments who you think the PlayStation Studio is going to be behind the Twisted Metal project. Let me know what you think might have happened with Lucid, and if Destruction AllStars is actually going to maybe be redeemed. Alright, I'm out, guys.